You are now listening to The Spearsy Spin with your host, Mike Spears.
Hi folks, and welcome to the Spearsy Spin for Friday, April 28th, 2017. Well, today's topic is, have we been sold a bill of goods when it comes to the Muslims living here in the United States of America? But first, a Berkeley College update. Well, things have been a little hot here with tempers, as some folks wanted us to do another commentary on the boneheads at Berkeley. And today, conservative talk show personality Ann Coulter was to give a speech at Berkeley, but because the boneheaded students there on campus raised all kinds of hell and threatened violence, she canceled. Well, here's the juxt of this Berkeley thing. Even after Ann Coulter said late yesterday that she would not be at Berkeley today, the boneheads there decided to protest, riot, and do whatever the hell it is that they do there. Now, the police are out in full force, and the pro-Republican group is now there protesting the liberal students. So, if I was to do another commentary on Berkeley, that would make take 4 in the last month and a half. So I said not just no, hell no. Because how much time can you talk about a bunch of idiots raising all sorts of problems and causing the police to be involved because they don't want to hear somebody speak at the college? Well, here's an idea. Don't go to the speech. Anyway, here's what I told everybody here. Look, if the folks out there listened to my show yesterday, Wednesday's show, then they know all there is to know about the boneheads at Berkeley. Well, all hell broke out as soon as I said that. And one of the folks here said that it's news and it's newsworthy and we needed to cover it. Plus, there's a treasure trove of photos for tonight's protest. So, this was my only consenting dialogue to these pinheads in Alameda County, California, that is, Berkeley College. Now, I have my Mozart playing in the background as I'm writing the dialogue here. And this is what I want to talk about. I mean, this is the important issue on the show tonight, which is moderate Muslims. Well, first of all, would someone please tell me who the hell are the moderate Muslims? Now, granted, I don't live in a major metropolitan area where these folks tend to congregate, live, and propagate, but I have friends that do. So here's my thinking, and my thinking here has not changed since 2001. The United States is made up of many different ideologies. It's made up of all sorts of different cultures as well as religions. And, we've even made up a term. The USA is the melting pot of the world. Well, that's true, and yet, from where I'm sitting, it appears to be mostly a one-way street for many, including the Muslims. And what I mean by that statement is that we have a couple million Muslims here or there in the United States. In several different instances, we have seen widespread support for Sharia law. Now, this is the United States. We have our own laws. We don't need other laws. And we don't need to feel as Americans that somehow we're going to be indoctrinated, because we as Americans don't like to be indoctrinated, and we get really pissy about it. Now, even in Texas, they have had discussions about Sharia law, and that's in Texas. Blows my mind, but now also CAIR, CAIR. These are the folks that watch out for the Islamic belief and so on like that. Now, they've been on board to try and get unprecedented appreciations for the Muslims now living in this country. And if anyone feels that what is being asked for by CAIR is too much or out of the question, then you're considered to be an evil Islamophobe and bigot. Now, is that a fair assumption of the facts? No, it is not. It would appear that CAIR and organizations like it may be trying to manipulate the facts in an effort to get a better hold here in the U.S. in an effort to gain popularity for Muslim beliefs. But are we at the end of our pandering days for this religion? Well, I believe the answer may be yes, and here's why. Today, the entire world has been made to view the Muslim Islamic religion, albeit because of Islamic terrorism. Now, the terrorism knows no boundaries, nor does it wish to halt or curtail its desire to conquer new lands and to establish a new caliphate. And I'm speaking, of course, of radical Islamic terrorists. Sadly, the death and destruction that this group has imposed has caused the world to begin to step back away from the Muslims and to step back away from the Islamic faith. In fact, these countries, Germany, Sweden, the United States, Russia, the UK, France, Australia, and soon Spain, are putting into place a much more rigid code of conduct that these individuals must follow when moving into one of these countries. And one of the big ones that I can think of, I believe, was in Michigan, where there is a new ruling of you must follow American laws. You can't have your own Sharia courts. You can't have your own Sharia divorces, and on and on and on, and that type of thing. Now, many people, not only here in the United States, but across the fruited, that is the United States, sorry, but across the ocean is what I should have said, thought that Donald Trump was the only leader who wanted to put into place a new list of restrictions that will help the Muslims to assimilate much more easily into the American way of life. And the same holds true for those other countries that we just listed. While there's no question that coming from the East and never having been exposed to the extreme cultural differences that do exist between the East and the West, it is those from the sand dunes of the East who must assimilate to our country. It is not for the visitors from the East to set up their own set of rules and laws. And from where I'm sitting, I think that we, meaning the non-Muslims in the world, have been very patient. But I don't think we can any longer wait for the radical Islamists to come to their senses and stop this reign of pure evil. Now, I believe that each of these countries, and within each one there lies a group of Minutemen who, respectful by nature, are seeing Islamic terrorism as a way of life for the group and are looking to end them by any means necessary. And you're seeing more and more people join in the military and the police, especially in Afghanistan and Iraq, because this has to be stopped. And that's what I'm saying. There are so many countries now that are coming on board, and I'm afraid it's going to get real messy, is what I think is going to happen. But we're talking here, and the type of talk that we're having, it seems very harsh. and perhaps can even be conceived to be linked to a type of genocide. And that's not what anyone's talking about, and it does not take away from the terror attacks in France, the U.S., Germany, Africa, and the list goes on and on. It's a very long list. But we're not talking about genocide. We're talking about halting an evil. Ask yourself this: how many thousands of people are dead this evening at the hands of ISIS, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and others? How many are injured and scarred for life? And this will really throw you into a tailspin. How many women and children, meaning young girls, have been raped and purposely impregnated in an effort to have the next generation of jihadists? Well, in addition to my commentary here, my little sister, Mary Ellen, who is in the medical profession out there in central New York and who's married to an international chef, and believe me, this man can cook. His name is Lawrence. Hi, Lawrence. Well, anyway, she sent me a link to a gentleman by the name of Hussein Abu Bakr. Now, he is a military instructor and a researcher, and he grew up in a Muslim home in Egypt. So if you would, listen carefully to his story and make your own decisions.
Don't go away. We have to pay some bills, and then we're coming back with Mike Spears.
Today, the mainstream media gets their facts wrong. Those leaning far left aren't happy with the status quo. Americans have never seen this much disinformation being disseminated. Watch the news, then listen to The Spearsy Spin with political commentator Mike Spears. The Spearsy Spin, now on Google, Twitter, Facebook, thespearsyspin.blogspot.com, and YouTube. Many listeners refer to Mike Spears as the new Walter Cronkite.
You know the threat is real. You sit in meetings with advisors and operatives who tell you there could be Islamic sleeper cells in every major American community. You know the southern border is a welcome mat for terrorists to enter our towns and neighborhoods at will. You know about their plots to kill us in our shopping malls, our sports stadiums, and our office buildings. You won your office by talking like a champion of freedom. Now it's time to act like one. Pass a national right to carry law that guarantees my constitutional right to defend myself, my family, and my fellow Americans anywhere inside our borders. And make sure the enemies of freedom know the power of freedom. No law-abiding American should be forced to face evil with empty hands. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
After every new jihadist attack against the West, politicians reassure us that the atrocity does not represent the true nature of mainstream Islam. Of the 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, they constantly reassure us the overwhelming majority are as law-abiding as any members of any other monotheistic faith. Only a tiny fraction engage in terror, and Islam is a religion of peace. Furthermore, we are told the great majority of Muslims hold moderate views. But what does that mean? How moderate are moderate Muslims? Given the threat of radical Islam, it would seem to be a fair question. Let me start to answer it by telling you something of my own story. I was raised in a middle-class Muslim home in Cairo, Egypt. Growing up, I was told, among many other things, the following: that every day that passes on the Islamic nation without a caliphate is a sin, that the failures and miseries of the Muslim world started the moment we Muslims gave up conquests and wars against the infidels, that our prosperity depended on conquering new lands and converting new believers, that anyone who leaves the faith must die. And I also remember how my teachers and my mosque imams reacted to the news of 9/11 when it happened? Joy. My experience was typical, and there is data to prove it. According to the Pew Research Center, 88% of Muslims in Egypt, 62% in Pakistan, 86% in Jordan, and 51% in Nigeria believe that any Muslim who chooses to leave Islam should be put to death. Similar, if not identical numbers, are in favor of stoning people who commit adultery, severely punishing those who criticize Muhammad or Islam, and chopping off hands for theft. All of these practices are a part of the penal code of Islamic law, which is known as Sharia. And 84% of Muslims in South Asia, 77% in Southeast Asia, 74% in the Middle East and North Africa, and 64% in Sub-Saharan Africa support Sharia as the law of the land. Less drastic, yet significant percentages are to be found even among Muslim communities in the West. So too, most of the world's Muslims believe that any acts of violence against Israel, including suicide bombers in buses and restaurants, are justified. Now, does any of this sound moderate to you? Yet, if anyone raises these inconvenient truths here in the West, he is sure to be called an Islamophobe, a hater of Islam. Again, my own story is instructive. In February of 2015, I was yelled at, cursed at, and successfully prevented from speaking at Swarthmore College by students and others who did not agree to what I was saying. Some of them were Muslim women who fit the image of the unveiled, perfect English-speaking moderate Muslim young woman. Other seeming moderates tried and failed to do the same during my speech at Temple University the next day. Some of them, sadly, were students of journalism. It is not Islamophobic to note the tragic fact that at this time in history, the Muslim world is dominated by bad ideas and bad beliefs. That is why millions of so-called moderate Muslims do not rise up to denounce Islamic terror. Because the word moderate, as we understand it, does not really apply. If moderation means you tolerate freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, women's rights, and gay rights, moderate Muslims are a distinct minority. Of course they exist, millions of them, but among believing Muslims, they do not represent anywhere near a critical mass. The values of the West and the values of Islam, as practiced in the Muslim worlds of the Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia, and more in Europe, are not compatible. Western politicians can deny this, but this denial does not change the reality. It is these bad ideas and beliefs that provide the soil in which radical Islam grows. Ignoring this only prevents us from effectively fighting Islamist terror, and at the same time, it hurts those heroic Muslims who really are moderate. Until we begin to tell the truth about Islam, always in respectful language, the only solution to Islamist terror will never take place. That solution is Islam reforming itself. I do believe that reform is possible. It can, of course, only be done from within Islam. The West can be a part of that reform, but only if it faces and tells the truth. The sooner it does so, the better for all of us. I am Hussein Abu Bakr for Prager University.
Well, that's our show for tonight. And I want to say thanks, sis, for the link to Mr. Abu Bakr, and we will see you all on Monday. Well, wait a minute, before I go, what's this? I just got this on my screen as I was signing off. I just got this on my screen, got this notice. Mike, please know that there is a sophomore college student from Berkeley that my family knows that would like to be on your show to talk about the insanity and the minute-to-minute minute-to-minute fear that this person lives under. This person will speak to us only if we alter the voice and use no name. Please plan to do this show. It must be something or the family would not have contacted me. Oh my God, Berkeley again. I swear, I for the life of me, I can understand what's going on out there. I mean, I do, and I did, and I told you what I thought. But, it's... Okay. So, folks, if you would tune in Monday, and we're going to see what this is all about. I'm going to be talking with this person over the weekend and recording the show ahead of time, I guess. So, tune in Monday, and we'll see if we get the inside story of what's going on with the boneheads at Berkeley. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you Monday.
Thanks for listening to today's show. Tell your friends and neighbors about the Spearsy Spin.